August 28th, 2023 school board meeting. Please all rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. We're seeking a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have no comments from the public, so we're going to move to board governance calendar, B1. And this is, I believe, a second look at the board governance calendar. Is that correct? First look, okay. So do you have any questions or do you want to actually do it? And this is kind of, can you get a little synopsis of what this calendar is for? I mean, it's basically showing what we need to do and when we need to do it and when we're going to have our listening sessions and the school reports when will occur, that sort of thing.
I did have a question. A couple of them, there's nowhere on here that's a class size report. The district used to do class size reports after kids showed up from EID or having class sizes run in. The normal reports in October, November, we're seeing fine, but I don't know. I think I looked a little earlier, our moments coming up against our projections.
You saw it really close?
Well, I just think it'd be good to know once, but once the bus from the seats, we get a better idea.
Yeah. So, and of course, when 10-day drops, they also have to be put in. So you see, students are going to move. That school is going to send to us for records, and we're going to know that they're not here, not attending. We're going to know that they've moved, and so those adjustments will occur. Students will enroll in college classes towards the end of September. So the first meeting in October, we're going to know, I think, really closely where we stand on that, and I'm happy to share that with you.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be great if we could have an idea where the numbers are since it affects our budget, and then also a comparison grade to grade against, class size from last year and the year before, just because I think that speaks volumes to what's going on. Okay. Last year, we ended up from the year before, we lost what has been the history for, we've been decreasing in size a little bit, so can we talk to that a little bit?
So you'll recall Director Aguinaga last year had said that there were 9,550 students in 18-19, and that was on the budget documents in that year. 9,550 students. I think we ended up, what was our actual number?
8957.
8,957. And so we are looking at, do we continue to trend in that direction or do we move up? 2021-22, the board saw a populations analysis and projection from Portland State, I believe, Mr. Saxon had commissioned that. We were projected to grow from 2021-22 into 2022-23, the year we just concluded, by 100 students. We actually shrank another 100. So it was a net 100 drop, but 200 less than the projection. So at this point, we can always go back and refer to that report, but I'm not sure that information is helpful or accurate.
Right. And what has been shown through the state is that's kind of everywhere. If anything, we're taking less of it. We've decreased less than many districts.
Talked with a superintendent from Tigard today. They had about 11,000 students. They lost 1,100 students, right? And so I don't think we're different than most. We certainly have a smaller percentage than they lost, but the decline in enrollment is broad. About 35,000 students missing.
For the record, I'd like to be different than most.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the board governance calendar this time? We're seeking a motion to accept the calendar.
I'd like to move to approve the board governance calendar as presented. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We go to F1, Superintendent Comments. Superintendent report.
So a few things that are occupying our time and our thoughts. We obviously are going to start school next week, and we have staff in this week getting ready. We did have new staff in here last week, beginning to make them acquainted with their buildings, the curriculum, the routines, all of those things. On Thursday at 8 a.m. in the West Albany Gymnasium, we will have our back-to-school rally. And this year, we will have a keynote speaker, Jamie Almanzan of the Equity Collaborative will be speaking. And I believe it's set to end somewhere around 9:45, and you're invited. Remember that Queen over there by West Albany is out of commission, and make sure you move around Liberty or through by the tennis courts, football stadium, to find parking. And wear a set of walking shoes, perhaps. So, one of the other things beyond just getting ready for kids has been the transition this year to our new student software system, which will handle grades, attendance for kids. It's basically the student record. We have a separate mainframe here in the district office called iVisions, which does our business and our pay. So this year, Lynn Benton Lincoln ESD, which had provided their own software in the region for decades, was losing the people that could support it, and so they began to turn over to Synergy. All districts in the region are making the same conversion right now as well. And so it's taken a lot of energy, a lot of time. I want to particularly single out John Dilbone, who works here at the district office, for stewarding the district through that, the training, and the tremendous work to make sure that everything is functional behind the scenes. I believe he mentioned the other day, 20 different apps or extended softwares link into that. So Parent Square draws from that information. So to make sure all of those things work is just a lot of work. I'm on a text group with other superintendents, and from what I see on the texts, I believe that no one has had a better transition than the one that John has worked here with. I also want to cite Marcy Barnhart, our instruction curriculum secretary. She was also very important to that, and she has also done a great job. The communications systems within the district. It always gets a little tight as you get down to it because we have a deadline. Go live this week. And so there's a lot of stress involved there with staff, but they have done a great job, and I just wanted to cite both of them on that. Budget, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. You are absolutely correct that we will know in October our student count and what that means. And from that day forward, we really see ourselves in a full year budget process this year. We continue to bargain with both certified and classified. The structures of those are very different. You will remember you took several MOUs in here at the meeting from the teachers. We had reached agreement on some of those topics. And we are agreeing to MOUs as a way to enact things right now. We do not want to wait until we go to successor bargaining at the end of the contract next year. And so when we are able to agree and solve some problems, there may not be perfect agreement about the status, but one thing we can agree on is there are things we need to fix. And I think both groups have been great about their willingness to work, and I've actually enjoyed those conversations. The classified, their contract is expired, and so they are in what is called successor bargaining. And that means we have to get a new contract in place. And again, those conversations have been productive and good. I think we looked at 20 different pieces of language the other day. We were able to reach tentative agreements on several of those, and we'll continue to work with them. We're now trying to figure out a time because it becomes a lot harder to get people together once school starts. And so, but we're committed to working with them still. And there still are outstanding issues in that. Other than that, look forward to seeing you on Thursday morning, if you can make it, and ready for school. Questions?
Any questions for the superintendent? Okay, we're going to go to board member reports. Sean, you want to start?
I don't have anything to report this time.
Ryan?
Not have anything.
Pete?
Sure. A few things just want to talk about. Today is the 60th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. This kind of saw that, and it led me to reading the speech again. Last week, I was fortunate enough to travel to Ireland and Northern Ireland. It was an amazing experience and reminded me and others I was traveling with how lucky we are to be U.S. citizens. While we are still a work in progress and have not reached Dr. King's aspirations, the opportunities provided people living in the United States are still an example for all countries and are something people over the world can only dream about. And for me, when I've traveled out of country, that just gets reinforced. And it's been a while since I'd travel out. School, just like the superintendent talked about, school is just a week out, away from starting. I want everyone to do our best to set high standards from the very beginning of the school year. Our youth still needs to catch up from learning loss due to COVID, and improving our learning environment will help our students learn. Another thing I think it's important for us to talk about at the beginning, and I think parents are a big part of this, is let's talk a little bit about cell phones. Every parent knows how distracted their kid can be when they have their cell phone at the dinner table or at a family event. Think about how that creates a bad learning environment in the classroom, you know? So I think our parents and staff really need to do their best job possible to minimize the negative impact of cell phones on our learning environment. Only other thing I guess I would say is we've put some money into middle school sports the last few years, and I'm very hopeful that this year can be the first year that we have some kind of winter sport in that program for the middle schools.
Okay, Pete and I had talked a little bit earlier about cell phones, and it got me to thinking on it a little bit. And Andy, I thought maybe this might be something that we could find out from the teachers instead of just, you know, trying to throw something down from the board. It would be interesting to know what the teachers would like to have happen in the classrooms, and maybe do a bit of a survey on what they think would be a proper cell phone restraint, if any. And so that we could be the ones to shoulder the burden of creating that, but we want to assist the teachers in getting the best classroom environment possible. And so maybe we could think about something along those lines and do a query and see what the teachers think.
I promise you we'll do a query.
Excellent.
And see where we're at.
Excellent. That was my only
Yeah.
comment for tonight. All right, gentlemen, we're kind of flying through this. So we're now to personnel licensed.
I move to approve as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed? And now we're at personnel classified.
Move to approve personnel classified as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? With question, sorry.
Yeah, I have a question, but I'm not opposed.
Okay, that's fine, go ahead.
How does our staffing this year, I know we had holes last year, how does staffing this year compare to last year? Have we made improvements? Has it gotten better, worse? Where are we at?
Well, we're a little murky in a couple of schools.
Okay.
We had a few late resignations, and we're working to fill those right now. And it's never a great time to, you know, find a teacher and then move them in an expedited manner. In general, I think food service was a place where we were short last year. Special ed EAs, there are still there are some absences there, or openings there. Busing is much improved.
That's
And
huge.
I think food service, there were 2 openings, did I hear Scott say today? And there were 7,
You'll be fully staffed.
3 openings, 7 applicants. Right, so, you know, the rule is long lines, bad food means staff, you know, those are the 3 things. And we know that a couple of buildings last year had long lines because they weren't fully staffed cafeterias. So hopefully we are, I believe we're improved. I think there's still a few challenges. But overall, I would say we're improved by across all departments.
Great.
So I should have asked this with license, but last time we approved an ability to use contract agency for special ed and nursing.
Yes.
Will that come across, if you end up utilizing that, will we know it? Will it be here, or is it a separate process?
Well, that, you guys were just giving us the right to do that.
Right.
I believe there is one already existing that we did that.
So their names won't come across as an approval from us?
No, it's an approval of a contract.
Okay.
But I don't think we've ended up using as many as we feared we might have to.
Okay, good.
The downside sometimes is we are hiring a special ed teacher without a special ed license, and then we have to provide support around that, on
Yeah.
IEPs, that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
Chris, to be clear, did we get a vote on classified? Done, okay, great, thank you. I just want to make sure, because we had, kind of got a little, I should slow down and allow some discussion, I apologize. Next up is minutes from last meeting on August 14th. Do we have any questions on the minutes? Or a motion to approve them?
I'll move to approve minutes from regular board meeting 8/14/23 as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, construction excise tax. Ms. Jane.
So last time we presented that, you had some questions, and so put together a little bit of information. So from 2018 through 23, we expended right around 5 million, and that all went towards the transportation facility. And the receipts across those 5 years averaged about 800,000 a year. But the total for that was 4 million. And so if we had charged a higher rate, of course, I did a chart showing at different rates what we would have brought in differently. And so the balance in the fund right now is 1.7 million. And so tonight the question is, do you want to increase the rate? It's right now at $1.26. The max is $1.53 per square foot for new residential construction. Or do you want to go somewhere in the middle?
Any discussion on that, gentlemen?
Sure. I hate this tax. I think I've said that before, and there's a lot to hate about it. One is that it can give the public perception that this is how we're going to stay ahead of facilities needs in the way of building schools and doing those things, and it doesn't touch the need as you, I think the last bond was $150, $160 million. Also don't like that the cost of housing is already high here. And taxing that is not something that you're enthused about from that policy perspective, I guess. The reality is, without getting what we can get through this excise tax, we don't have in our budget a line item to do projects. And so I think for the home buyer or the home builder, the difference between $1.26 and $1.53 is not decisive in whether they're going to build a home or buy a home. And we should continue to we should set a policy that we charge whatever the legislature allows, and to do that on an annual basis. So people aren't waiting around for a process and a vote and a debate every year.
Just a correction, it looks to me in the materials like it's $1.5678 for non-residential. $1.56 for residential, not $1.53.
What did you say about non-residential? What?
It looks like the allowed would be 78 cents.
Okay. So I just say that be the policy of the board and the district that we charge what's allowed to be charged. And we bite our lip and do it.
Sean, do you have any, it looked like you have.
Yeah.
Some. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a quick question. Where did the beginning fund balance come from? That
Just from years of collecting the excise tax and not expending it.
Gotcha. Okay. So, from my understanding of looking at the information you provided, it looks like at no point besides the first year of the pandemic did we actually bring in as much as we spent for the expenses. It seems like the revenue is lacking as opposed to what we're bringing in or we're spending, based on my understanding of it. And it's to me, it's tough to see it from a perspective of someone trying to buy a house to start out. A lot of starting families, that's one of the best things that they can do to improve generational wealth is to be able to buy a house and to be able to start that for their family, for their generations to come. And just adding, like was mentioned, adding another tax to that is tough to justify if it's not even meeting our expenditures through most of the years. And it's just tough for me to square that and add something more on someone's plate that's just trying to get started.
So I don't think you can really compare the expenses to the revenue. The expenses were for the transportation project across the years. They were transferred into that fund to complete that project. And it kept down the amount of money that we had to borrow.
Gotcha.
So I think the way it's worked is, and I don't think I would have voted to finance the bus barn the way it was done because it took all the money that could have gone to classrooms during that period of time. Either you, a school or a building makes the list for things that would be funded through the bond, or they wait 10 years. Because there's not a line item in our budget that's adequate to do yearly improvements to facilities. And that's what we should do with this money. And as a matter of principle, I agree with you. The reality is we're already charging it, we're at $1.26, and if we're making that compromise to charge that tax, we should make it as meaningful as we can for facilities and go with the higher rate. Acknowledging that reasonable people can be in completely different places in this discussion.
Ryan, do you have anything?
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, I pretty much agree with Roger. I don't love it as a tax, but it's there. And, you know, I think especially I really like the idea that we just set it at what the legislature says we can set it and let it go. So we don't have to, keep bringing it back up again. I mean, it's not enough money to really do. It'll do. I mean, we're not in a position to not have it because it's not, we don't have the money on for our facilities, but it's a little bit deceptive in that you're not going to really build much with it. So, yeah.
Pete?
Compared to the other local municipalities, do we do about the same or what? How do they compare?
It's kind of across the board. I did do a little research. Many of them do just every year assess what they're allowed. And there are some, like Albany, who had left it alone for a long time. So kind of all over. I would say the majority assess the new rate every year.
Okay, this is a tax that I get the opportunity to pay on occasion, and it is only for new dwellings. It doesn't even come close to approaching the system development charges that municipalities charge for building a new home. And like Roger said, I think we have kind of a bit of a consensus building here. It's unfortunate that we do add this tax on to new home buyers, but it's one of the ways that we've come to agree to fund certain things. And so I would like to have a motion, if you wouldn't mind, Roger, to make it what the legislature will allow each year and do it that way. Because you're good at that.
Thank you for that opportunity. Mr. Chairman, I move to set the excise, what's the name of it, Jane?
Excise tax.
The excise tax rate at the allowable rate set biennial by the Oregon legislature. And,
I'll
and-
second,
and the motion goes into effect immediately.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, next we're on K1, Business Financial Report. Ms. Jane.
So I don't have a financial report, but I did want to give you just a little update. I was looking at where our ADM, the cumulative ADM, ended up for 22-23 compared to the budget. And if you remember, I had reduced it in like March to what I thought we would end up to avoid a May 24 adjustment. And it ended up within like 10 students of what we had lowered it to. So that was good news to me because I thought that it would end up lower than it did. And so then if I compare that ADM to what we budgeted, it would be 22 students lower than what we budgeted. So again, that was encouraging to me because as I was watching the enrollment through spring and the end of the year, I thought it had dropped more than that. So even though 22 students, that's $10,000 a student, it's still significant, but better than I thought it would be. So that was encouraging. And in we get the first period report the middle of September, which, like Andy said, still has a lot of adjustments to it, the drops and the students taking the college courses, but it will give us a good idea where we are with the new year. So I thought that was good news and just wanted to share that.
Anybody have questions for Jane? Okay, moving on to Mr. Bolin, Operations and Bond Report.
Yeah, thank you. So you, in your packet here, let me get switched over. It's hitting the wrong button here. There we go. All right. So in your packet, you had this report, and I'll be covering that in my report here as well. So this is a report from HMK, so I have it embedded in mine. Just want to remind you again that here's what we've been striving for over in operations and supporting our teachers and students to have greater success. And a relentless passion to support is our motto this year. And I'll tell you what, I've seen some outstanding examples of that this summer. And so I'm excited to share this with you tonight. This is a document that I've shown you once or twice. It's changing, it's modifying. I got teams going in and rewording things. But I'm really excited to see this in front of our staff, and our directors are using it to coach, teach, reinforce what we're trying to do to support our schools. This has been good work by teams across all departments, and so they're making adjustments with that. In that, our directors are, all of our directors made goal this year, and they all had a customer service focus goal. And I wanted to report on this. You're gonna see this throughout the year. Our directors and supervisors, there's 8 of them that I've listed. The expectation is they're in each building at least once a month to interact with folks of where the work is happening, and it's not a scheduled meeting, it's just a walk through and an interaction. Then we enter it into a spreadsheet, and we're competing a little bit, which is fun. And then each month we talk about roadblocks, what got in the way for you getting into the buildings, and that sort of things as well. So in August, we have 215 visits. 4 of us are participating. Cindy in transportation and Scott will come aboard with us in September. But that's a lot of visits, so I really appreciate their efforts there. I wish all these people were here tonight. This is and I probably missed a few, and I apologize if I did, but this list of folks had an outstanding commitment to get our schools ready for school next week. We could not have done it with the additional ones you've seen there, all of our custodians. Just Serve and Eileen Wynn was outstanding. The churches listed, Oak Grove PTC, the dance team at Calapooya Middle School joined us. Monte Ayers is at South Albany, and he managed those grounds and does a great job over the summer. And then the South Neighborhood Church as well. There's hundreds of people that helped us this summer on our grounds, and they look pretty good, and we're gonna take a little bit of a picture tour tonight. All that summer help is summer help that we hired over the summer to help us within the buildings and on grounds. And so really proud of these people, great effort. So let's take a look here. Going back to just our big projects that I presented before, the Timber Ridge Middle School boiler is completed. Our HVAC units at North Albany, which just seemed like a little project. There's a lot that goes into that. There's design, there's programming. Those run slated to be ready and serviceable by the end of the week. Our pool boilers are on track to be done on time. Same thing at South Shore. We're going to take a look at Central Elementary School cafeteria and heating is also on track. All of our HVAC units, those portable ones on our modulars are complete at Liberty. We did not get Calapooya done, but they are functional at Calapooya. And then some water heaters and some of our gyms got refinished too. Oak Grove got finished too. I didn't get that on the list. And then HMK, here's back to the HMK report. South Shore is completed. The West Albany baseball nets are completed. I have some pictures of that for you. The roof was outstanding, well done by standard. Construction at South Albany. And then bond funds, I was asked about allocated bond funds last month. So right now at the allocated projects, we're at about 8.4 million left in allocated projects, 2.2 in unallocated projects. And we'll be working, Jane and I will be working with HMK. We are making a transition away from the services of HMK. And we're working on that transition over the next month. We'll be doing that. The projects, we have just limited projects and we think we can handle those in-house. So we're making that transition, looking forward to that. So this is how we would approach the work. We asked for input from all of our stakeholders in the buildings to identify the tasks for facilities and technology. We communicated before the summer, this is what we have on our list to get done. When they got back, we sent them the list again. We showed them what was completed and what we didn't get to. And then we identified with their help what's critical for you to start the year. So we focused our list down. And then the last 3 weeks, I think we've had an outstanding effort to close those out. So I'll talk a little bit about air quality grant that we did. But the South Shore, this is some of the other projects that occurred. South Shore got painted, Tangent Modular. You heard Gretchen talked about that in the spring. That's no longer there. South Shore Modulars got removed. The ticket booth at West, we had a project there. The Oak office remodel was done and done really well. There's a bad thing to that. Now everybody wants their office remodeled, but they got that done and did a great job. Oak fencing around the back play area is in process, and we had some tree removal there as well. Playground installations. Entry carping was done really well, kind of spruced up the fronts of our building. Obviously, the summer cleaning, I had several reports of principals. It's the cleanest that their building's ever been since the start of school. So they did outstanding work there. Lots of rooms being painted, in the South Albany campus is getting line striped because those parking spaces there are hard to see, and concerns about safety there. So Oak Grove, here's and the focus of our facilities cleanup on grounds was the fronts of our buildings. We had some watering issues at Oak Grove, got those fixed over the summer. You can see that some cleanup there. The swales that you heard a lot of talking about, you couldn't see through this at the beginning of summer. We did a little contract work with our swales and they're all cleaned up. The church group, I noted this one on the right, the bigger picture, there was 4 feet of grass in there on Saturday morning. And they went in and tore it out and they filled the whole trailer full of grass that had been we got behind on, and they cleaned that all up. You couldn't see those windows Saturday morning. They went in and cleaned that up. So that's a great effort. This is South Shore, all painted. The modulars are gone, and we're getting some grass in there, and they actually painted the covered area as well. Waverly looking good, little bark coming in, cleaned up in the back, and there's a new play structure in there back for preschool. West Albany High School, again, the swale out there in front, you couldn't see through that at the beginning of summer. And there was some cleanup done up front and some reseeding got done in there as well. And then this is our ticket booth project to be able to get our patrons in from the parking lot to the stadium without walking through the gravel. This was a partnership between the district and the Booster Club. The Booster Club purchased the ticket booth, and we took care of the paving and the electrical and some of the gravel, and they're finishing that this week for the first game. So this has really cleaned up that entrance. The old ticket booths that were there, they were tough to get down. They were pretty sturdy, but we did get them down and hauled away. The baseball netting, well done. Standard Construction did a great job with that. The footings are nicely done as well. I think they go 9 feet down. Tequina, pretty clean school in the front. Periwinkle's a pretty easy maintenance building for us as well. Looking good. This is Liberty, outstanding job cleaning the beds and bringing some bark in there. Lafayette was in process when I got pictures there last week. Sunrise looks fantastic in the front. Very clean, got some plants in there, all new bark there. Oak, this is the office remodel, the left. It looks a little cluttered, but it's actually a lot better than it was. And that door was moved. It used to be down the hallway about 20 feet. They moved it closer to the front entrance for safety. And so it's a new entrance to the office. South Albany High School, again, a church group was there this weekend. Outstanding job there at South. In fact, I've got reports. This is the first time in 15 years that grass has been green at the start of school. It looks fantastic in there. The front's been rebarked, new rock in the front of the school. That's a huge improvement from last spring. Really exciting work done there. This is the front of South and another picture of the courtyard. But just a great place for kids to go class to class. So we're excited about that. Tangent got cleaned up in the front. And then this will be cleaned up before school starts, but that's where the modular was. And it was rotten, deteriorated, and so we had that removed. This is getting cut out and grass is being put in there. And then that's the cafeteria at Central. This was a huge project for us. You remember there used to be blue walls around those posts there. We opened it up, painted the whole thing, new lights, and then that back door on the right goes straight to the playground. So there'll be, the kids can get straight back to the playground. And then our carpenters framed that door in. I just didn't go back there today to get an updated picture. But now they'll have an entry and an exit into that room, so better supervision, great flow for kids. Won't be as hot down there for our students as well. So this is a lot of work and really like how it turned out. Again, the swales at Timber were cleaned up. Meadow, same thing. Swales cleaned up, looking good. And then just quickly, I didn't know I was going to be the longest agenda item tonight. I'm sorry about that. But technology, here's the list of items. They had a 41 task list, and this is kind of the bulk of what they got done. I won't go through all those. An important one was the Albany Options cell phone booster. Because of their roof structure there, we have a hard time with cell phone and communications there. So Rob's been working to get a solution in there for those staff members. And then Andy already talked about the hiring. We got some dishwashers, transportation with hiring as well has been really good. Want to talk just real briefly about GAPS air quality. So these little white units that you see over here, We submitted a grant to the Oregon Health Authority at the beginning of the summer. I asked how much is too much to ask, and they said there wasn't a limit. So we asked for one of those units for every classroom, every office, and every large space in our district. So 930 units were delivered to the district over the summer,
Wow.
which creates an issue with where to store them, where to unpack them, and where to deploy them, right? But I'll tell you what, I really think this is gonna make a huge difference. I've always had, already had reports of people that had sensitivity to smoke, and they've sent me notes, say, hey, I didn't cough all day, and when the smoke was bad. So these, over on the right is everything that they filter out. These are HEPA 13 units. They filter out 99.9% of air particles. They will increase the quality of air that we have in our classrooms. They're just a tool for our teachers to use. They don't have to leave them on all day long. If the kids have sniffles, they can turn them on, they can run them at night. It's just another tool for our teachers to keep themselves healthy and our students. That unit there will filter the air in here every 15 minutes. And so it provides a better air quality. So we have them for every, and then there you see out here in the hallway, there's great big ones. That's about a 520, we figured out the dollar amount, it's about 525,000. And again, that was a grant that we wrote last spring. So a great effort throughout the summer, and I wanted to bring some pictures because I'm pretty proud of that work. So I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm really proud of the work that they did. I was asked also to talk a little bit about the Liberty start time. So we did make a change at the Liberty start time. I want to update you on that. So West starts school at 7:40, and Memorial and Liberty will start this year at 7:55. We conducted last spring some input surveys from parents. I had 35 parents respond to that survey, and it was really mixed. It was about half and half of ones that really favored that early start times and one that did not. And all very thoughtful comments from the parents about that. We met with building principals. I met with the city traffic. I met with police. And the city had no concerns about the change. The police did not as well. Our main concern was traffic with high school students. So what we did in working with the police was create basically a safety corridor between Umatilla and Liberty. And so they allowed us to put some things in the road in the morning, temporary things to really highlight that this is a safety zone between our schools. We extended the drop-off zone away from, what's the main road there that comes in? There were concerns about traffic backing up towards the tennis courts.
27.
Right, so we extended some of the drop-off zones in front of the school and created 2 more drop-off zones on Liberty and Umatilla to aid with keeping things to the south. So we feel pretty good about it. The staff highly supported the earlier start time. And just to summarize, it really allowed the transportation to be more efficient. So we were able to add routes to other spots because of the time change. They can service more schools. So it helped us at South Shore, it helped us at Timber and Meadow as well. So that's kind of a summary. I will be on site there Tuesday and Thursday of next week to watch that traffic flow and see how it goes. So
So what time will Liberty start now?
they will start at 7:55.
Okay.
We proposed 7:50, we extended it to 7:55 just to give us more room distance from West, is what we compromised late last spring. So, sorry to take the time, but I'm really proud of that work that happened over the summer.
Great job, Mr. Boland.
Questions, comments from Mr. Boland?
Go for it. Okay, I just want to let you know, the schools do look a lot better than they have for a long, long time. And that's huge for pride, and people just, they notice it. And they certainly have heard about it from many parents and kids. So please pass thanks on to those who made it happen, because it's a big deal, and the schools look good, and that's exciting for the kids to go back. I do have a question about I know we talked about this last board meeting, about what does the timeline look about for Queen Avenue? And they were supposedly going to be done like right about now. I see that everything, I get to drive through that for going to work, so it doesn't look like they're that close.
Unofficially next week.
So we definitely are going to have overlap between schools and this going on. That's going to be ugly.
Yes.
Thanks for that. I have, I guess I don't know how else to say it. I have some heartburn about the approach to traffic around schools and when schools start, in so much as that it's just been acceptable that it will not flow great, and that it will not be a pleasant experience for many motorists. And so first, I guess I want to ask you, there was some pushback, what seemed like legitimate pushback to me from some parents in the area of Liberty who know that neighborhood and know those traffic patterns better than we did. Did we make any adjustments as a result of that? No?
Meaning, did we take input from someone there, not
Well,
a parent, or?
I think we all got an email. I think I remember, hey, you're doing this, it doesn't make any sense. You haven't considered A, B, C, and D. I say that very broadly, and I could look for the email, I guess, but you got input, and
I thought Dave was correct in saying it was mixed. He shared that with me. Would that be fair?
Yeah, and the concerns that were some of the neighbors communicated, I vetted with the city, shared those with the police, all the concerns, I put them in a spreadsheet, and the city and the police and the principals all had access to every concern that we had, and we reviewed every single one of them at multiple meetings and went through them and made sure that we were comfortable moving forward with this time.
well, but anytime you make these kinds of changes, there's the chance of some unknowns, right?
Yeah.
So I just, from my perspective going forward, when we make these kind of changes, it would be good to engage professionals who are traffic engineers.
That's why I engaged the city
You did.
traffic
That-
engineer.
I guess I'd be looking, I would drill down further with somebody who would do a traffic study and do some analysis and make recommendations based on that. Because I don't think we did that, did we?
No.
We didn't have a traffic study done.
I've seen a lot of changes over the years at South Albany in regards to that kind of strategy and class times and traffic flow and subdivisions, and the response is, yeah, well, here's the good news. Everybody's going really slow, so nobody should get hurt if there's an accident. And that, I just don't find that acceptable. So,
In my experience too, and this is maybe a long range down the road, but I've never worked in a district where they don't allow students to come in at an earlier start time. So typically in schools that I've been a part of, if you start school at 8, they open the doors at 7:30. And they have staff there to supervise students in the morning. And that's something for us to take a look at. I believe in Albany, most time they're opening up 10 minutes before start time, so that really truncates the flow into the buildings. It condenses that and makes it pretty intense for that time and doesn't spread it out over time. So that's something for us to consider in the future, because if we just give 10 minutes, then everybody's got rushing to get there within that 10 minutes and dropping off their kids. That's why we're getting long lines. We're maybe not feeding kids as well in the morning as well. So that's something to take a look at. I think that alleviates some of the traffic concerns. But there's a cost with that, with supervision of kids in the morning too,
Yeah, of course.
so.
The schools do look really good, the swales especially. Do you have a sustainability plan so that doesn't, we don't deal with that, keep over and over?
Chainsaw. No, I think we did hire some outside help to help us out there, right? But I think now, moving forward, can we maintain that with the staff that we have? So that's just better planning, better planning on our part of when we're getting into them, and using the community help to help us maintain them. That's been really strong this summer. I want to keep that relationship going with our community members because we need their help and they want to help. And so keeping that going, I'm hoping this gives us, reminds us what they should look like, and then will help us maintain them because they had a crew of 7 people that went in and tacked those things. They spent a whole day at Oak Grove to get it looking well. But it's noticeable, and we're gonna work as hard as we can to maintain it and keep it going now. We got some areas that we still have to work on, don't get me wrong. The backside of Oak Grove is overgrown. You see over here by the tennis courts, it's overgrown as well. So we got some spots that we need to be better at, and we'll get better.
Dave, there are, on the 16th, there is another workday
Yeah.
at 4 schools.
Yes.
And
so-
that's again with Just Serve? and all
Yep,
that?
Just Serve is doing a day of remembrance on September 16th, so that'll come out. Timber, Meadow, North Albany Middle School and Elementary School, and Central will have volunteers at those buildings and sites with tasks to go as well. So looking forward to that as well.
And then sustainable, I think the big challenges we have, like the fields we can mow, right? Fence lines we want to work on. The shrubs at the new buildings and the trees are really challenging. We were out there the other night at the field north of Meadow Ridge. We have talked to the city about what we can and can't do. And they say trees are a little tougher, but we could in fact transition those to something that's easier to care for. The shrub, we cannot change the swales. The swales are wetland weeds, I believe they're in there by requirement, but shrubbery is just ours. It isn't required in any plan by the city.
Okay.
And that's huge time.
Sean, do you have anything?
No.
Anything? I wanted to thank the community members for going in there and helping out. That's great. Dave, you've done an awesome job. And tell you a little something about Dave. We were, like Andy said, we were at Meadow Ridge, and we were standing there, and Dave looks over and goes, "Hey, I think that sprinkler's not working." And he walks over there, says, "Anybody got a hammer?" And he gets a hammer, and he fixes it right on the spot while we were having this little meeting. And so this is just the kind of hands-on stuff that he does, and the crew is doing an amazing job. And the schools were looking awesome, and I just wanted to say thank you for prioritizing the fronts. That's what most people see. We'll get to the rest of it when time allows. Just outstanding job.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Nice job, Dave.
Okay, I think we're moving to new business, superintendent goals.
So I shared with you at the last meeting the goals and just overview just very quickly. And they're an approval item tonight, but the 3 major goals for the district that the superintendent goals. Remember that number 1 is shifting and creating a stronger sense of instructional leadership in the district. And if I could summarize that, there's a lot of work that we're going to do, how we work with teachers in a supportive format. But the number 1 change that we are going to use to start this is principals are going to increase their presence in classrooms. And the study, Stafford Boyd did a great job at our alt retreat. He had an article that showed the difference between high-performing schools and schools that aren't performing as well. And the activities, the time that leaders are engaged in things that see instruction and support instruction versus just administrative tasks, that is a significant difference maker. So we're going to really be working on that. As we do that, we're going to be learning a lot more. We are going to be learning about how to give feedback. We are going to be working with our secretaries and other staff in the school, how to support and deal with things so that they are not pulled out of those classrooms. So there's a lot of work to do to form up around this within the schools, but I'm really excited, and I know that the the principals themselves have expressed a real excitement and willingness to do this, and so I look forward to that. We are working with the Center for Educational Leadership to begin to look at instruction, and we're going to do that. We have some people who will at times visit Corvallis. It's a regional initiative. And we also have members of the teachers union and just the teachers themselves who will be a part of that, because we want everybody to kind of develop this understanding in common together with where we're going. Number 2 is sustainable budget again, and that work will really kick off as we see our enrollment and where we're at. And so you'll be updated on that throughout the year. Again, talking to the superintendent from the other district today, it is really critical. There are a lot of districts. Everybody is going to be spending this year getting ready to go through that second year of the biennium. And then the third goal, community engagement. And what we're doing, Roger made the comment that he doesn't want us to be a district that continues to decline in enrollment. We also want to be a district that is addressing, and I think we saw it last year at the listening sessions. I know I heard it at the Parents of Black Students, parent input meetings, that we have to be effective in how we respond to bias incidents in this district. And when I say effective, I think that every corner of this district needs to have someone that understands how they will respond, and that we're going to work to make sure that people are cared for in that event. We're going to support adults as they address it, because that can be a little uncomfortable. And I know we've got a great EDI director who is going to be heading out to every school and meeting with principals, and we will be setting that up. Understanding what is a controversial topic and that we notice parents, I think there has been great concern there. I think that there has been some diminishing enrollment because of that, as people stay home and homeschool, as they go to private schools. And we want to make sure that parents will understand what we're teaching before it happens. And that's a really important thing. And we're going to be working at the next board meeting. We'll have a first reading on that new policy. Those are my goals.
And did we set, Chris, a meeting? Is that set? And can we announce that controversial topics? Because Andy mentioned that, or should we wait till another time to?
We'll return it to you on the
Okay,
next
that's fine.
meeting with all the details.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, kind of. These are all 3 really important goals, and so I don't even know. Maybe this is one of those things where I hope I can say what I'm thinking in a clear way. But I think, to me, one of the hallmarks of really great leadership is to get your entire team moving in the same direction, everybody pushing the same way. And I'm not sure that's been Albany's experience the last couple of years. And I think a big part of your job is to get us back there, pushing in the same direction. Now, all 3 of these things can help get you there, but I guess I wonder, if that should be called out specifically as a goal? Last year you had a goal around customer service, around how and I think, I still believe that there is some trust problems between district office departments and buildings, and that might interfere with the work sometimes. And I think as a superintendent, it's really important that you work on those relationships and that culture. And so it's not called out here specifically, and I don't know if it should be or not, but I do think it's really important. And I think you're going to struggle with all these things if you don't get that handled.
Yeah, well, clearly, like in goal number 3, there is a societal dissonance that we are going to be working within. And we're going to have to make sure that we have schools where those things can occur, right? Where parents can trust what we're going to teach them, that there are going to be no surprises. But we also have a huge duty to make sure that when a student suffers the wound, right, of a bias incident, that we can support them as well. And we have to figure out how to do school with everybody together. I think when I came to the district, I met with every administrator in the district. And one of the things that begins to happen is someone like Dave Bolin shows up, right? Because we had customer service issues with buildings from those departments that they perceived that they were not attended to very well. And so those departments have a lot of pride in their own work right now, and I think they would score very differently than what we experienced then. The second goal, which is budget, one of the major issues is people didn't have any clue what their budget was or where their people were and what funds, things like that. And so much of that is going to be cleared up as we work through this year and get that squared away as well. So I think in general, when I watch people come into the office or whatever, I see a politeness, but it seemed like many of the issues were around they weren't getting what they needed, right? And so there is a lot of work, I think, that is left to still be done. But if we can, like, you guys might remember, I failed pretty badly in the budget process because I said they were going to see their budgets by September of last year. They saw them in July of this year because we could not make that budget become accurate. So now we're working forward, year one, with a budget. We're going to be a team. So there's a lot of functional things that have been in the way of meeting needs.
Right. Well, I'll give you a real specific example, right? I can promise you some of your budget problems are a result of principals not trusting the budget office and so figuring out a way around their rules or their processes rather than going to the business office and saying, hey, let's do it this way. Right.
Absolutely.
And you're going to see that in all of these areas if we don't work on that culture and that trust and that, hey, we're all working to the same goal.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions for Andy on the goals? I'm seeking a motion.
I'd like to move to approve the 2023-2024 superintendent goals as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? I don't think we have any future agenda items or other business. So I have a question for Chris Green. Do we adjourn this meeting and then announce executive session, or?
Other way around.
So we announce executive session and then ask for an adjournment? Okay. Is there anything else while we're still in session? We have time, because
Well,
we're going to wait for our attorney who's going to be here earlier.
I have, I guess, a process question. In my experience in executive session, you don't make decisions. And so if there is a board decision to be made, it should be made in a public session. And if you adjourn the meeting, you wouldn't have the opportunity to come out and make that decision. I don't know that it's necessary for this executive session. And we've noticed the meeting format the way it is, but going forward, would it be prudent for us, once you were at other business, that you then recess to executive session and then in fact come back when you're out of executive session and adjourn then in the event that you would like to make some decision as a result of the executive session?
That's what you're saying? Yeah, I think tonight is informational only, is my guess, but
Yeah, we have actually, depending on the executive session, have had that just like that. But if there's no decision that needs to be made, then you wouldn't need to come back in. So on this particular one, that was the understanding, is there was no decision that needed to be voted on. It's information, so.
okay.
Okay, so then the last thing I would say during the regular session, I appreciate the attempt to minimize the executive sessions to as few as possible and hope that we continue to do that as we adjourn and go into executive session tonight.
Okay, so following this meeting, we're going to go into executive session. The board will go into a closed session under ORS 192.6602H to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. At this time, I am seeking a motion to adjourn.
Move to executive.
Yeah, and then move into executive session, yes.
Our attorney signed off on that. Okay.
You have the number is from.
He's here.
Good, good.
Oh,
looking in the back of
he
the
has
room.
come in, good.
I'm gonna
'Cause
ask
I
it
know
every
he's going to be
time,
here a little
so.
bit later, so we made it in time. So seeking a motion to adjourn and go into executive session, please.
To adjourn and go into executive session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you for the assist.